Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and today is the launch of Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. This is going to be another reprint-focused set, adding cards from the original Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon sets to Arena. It is another Innistrad draft format, so we'll be seeing all of the classic creature types, like spirits, werewolves, vampires, and zombies, as well as graveyard mechanics like Flashback and Delirium, and unique to this return to Innistrad are the Eldrazi cards that bring a sort of eldritch horror theme to the classic gothic horror of Innistrad. There's some unique mechanics in the set, including Investigate that allows us to create clue tokens we can sacrifice to draw a card, Madness that allows us to cast anything with Madness as we discard it, usually for a discounted price. And then on Eldrazi cards, we have the Emerge mechanic, which lets us sacrifice a creature to reduce the Eldrazi's casting cost by the mana value of the sacrificed creature. Last but not least, we have a bonus sheet of cards that are reprints from the very first Innistrad block, appearing in one slot in every pack, very similar to the Mystical Archives from Strixhaven or the retro-framed artifacts from Brothers War. But this time around, the bonus sheet is going to change with a new theme each week. For week 1, the Shadows of the Past theme is creature type terror, so we're going to see a lot of classic, again, spirits, werewolves, zombies, stuff like that, cards that incentivize you to draft a ton of cards based on their creature type. So with that whole spiel out of the way, that's pretty much everything you need to know about Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. Without further ado, let's hop into the draft and see where the cards take us today. Alright, here we are for pack 1, pick 1. We've got a couple rares. I don't think either are tremendously powerful, but I also don't think our commons or uncommons are that great. I don't think Triskaidekaphobia is really playable in Limited. You have to try to get somebody to exactly 13 life by having each player gain a life and lose a life during each turn, whichever one is going to bring your opponent closer to 13. So it's a very cool card. It's nice to have it on Arena, but not something I'm going to try to win with in draft. There's also a Havengal Runebinder. That is our rare from Shadows of the Past. This is a 4-mana 2/2, which is a really bad rate, but for 3 mana we can exile a creature from our graveyard to make a 2/2 zombie, then put a +1/+1 counter on each zombie we control. So if this sticks around, next turn we spend 3 mana, tap it, make basically a 3/3 zombie. Turn after that, 3 mana, tap it, make a 3/3 zombie and buff all of our other zombies. So I think it could be a pretty good card. If there was just a really solid, like, mono-colored removal spell in this pack, I'd probably take it over the Havengal Runebinder, but there wasn't a lot going on in terms of mono-colored commons and uncommons there. Alright, pack 1, pick 2, we've got a Westvale Abbey here, which can take over a long game. If we get 5 creatures on the board, we just spend 5 taps, sack 5 creatures, have a 9/7 flying lifelink indestructible haste, that can really win a game. And if we don't have 5 creatures, then we sit here making 1/1s until we do. Seems like a pretty strong rare. I'm probably going to roll with that, but there are some really good cards in this pack. Basically the 1-mana cards. Town Gossipmonger, a 1-mana 1/1 that if we control another creature, we can tap it to turn this into a 2/3. This is a pretty good deal, because if you just play this turn 1, play a 2/2 on turn 2, if that 2/2 is summoning sick anyway, then you just tap it the turn you play it to the Gossipmonger to buff this into the 2/3 body, so I like that a lot. 3-Bit Inspector is also quite good, giving you a clue token when it hits the board, being like a 1-mana 1/2 that eventually draws you a card. Pretty nice. And then Blessed Alliance is pretty good too, so a lot of great white cards here, but I'm just going to go for the Westvale Abbey. I think I'm going to try it out in whatever deck I end up building. Alright, pack 1, pick 3. This Compelling Defiance, or Compelling Deterrence, seems quite powerful if we control a zombie. 2 mana to just bounce any non-land permanent, that's pretty much the going rate for that kind of interaction. But add on top of that they have to discard a card after they bounce it, and that's just a really good deal for only 2 mana. So we're already pretty incentivized to try to play a lot of zombies with the Runebinder, since this is going to put a +1/+1 counter on all of them. So I think Compelling Deterrence should be a pretty solid pick. Illuminator is also really good if we get a lot of Investigate cards. This is going to double them up. But I like the idea of trying to head into one of the creature type focused decks here, since that is what the Shadows of the Past are focused on this week. We'll try out a blue-black zombie build if we can get into the archetype. Unfortunately, we're not seeing any zombies, and this pack, the black cards are pretty bad. The blue card's not great either. Fogwalker's like fine filler, it looks like, mostly. The best cards in this pack are probably Wretched Gryff in blue if we want to stay on color, but we want to have some decent creatures to sacrifice for this ideally, or some decent ways to ramp into it, or it won't be the greatest. And then there's just a really solid burn spell in red, just 1 mana, instant speed, 2 damage. Solid ramp card in green. Yeah, Wretched Gryff, Ulvenwald Captive, Galvanic Bombardment seem the best. I'll just go for the Bombardment here. Maybe we'll be blue-red spells or something weird. Blue-red spells is definitely an archetype in this format. But we'll see what we get past. Pack 1, pick 5, we can take a Lightning Axe to follow up the Galvanic Bombardment. Or we could start taking some of these white cards. We have gotten past a lot of powerful white cards from the right. I actually don't know if Spectral Shepherd is better than Town Gossipmonger, or if Town Gossipmonger is better. A 1-mana card that's potentially a 2/3 is so huge, but flyers seem pretty decent, and there's definitely a blue-white Spirits deck if we end up in that color pair. Could also just take the Lightning Axe here just to have another red burn spell. I've already passed a lot of good white cards, so I don't think I should expect to get good white cards in pack 2. Take a Lightning Axe here. But if I keep getting good white cards here, then we should expect to get a ton of good white in pack 1 and pack 3. Ooh, Gisa's Bidding. I think this card is pretty nuts. I think it's probably like Black's best common, because if you can Madness this thing out, it's a 3-mana instant to make 2/2/2 zombies. Madness, of course, just meaning you can play it as you're discarding it, so if you have something like a Mad Prophet, it's a decent way to help with your Madness cards, but Lightning Axe certainly works. There's also like a 2-mana 2/2 that lets you discard a card in black, a 2-mana 1/3 in red that lets you discard a card. I think Bidding is a super high pick, and I'm going to roll for that here. If I don't take that, we're probably just taking like Shieldmate here and finally jumping on the white train. I'd rather pick up that Gisa's Bidding. Pack 1, pick 7 looks like a bunch of nonsense. I don't think Take Inventory is that great because it is a sorcery and you need a ton of copies of it for it to be good. Conduit of Storms, I guess, is fine. 3-mana 2/3, it adds red mana. Eventually it turns into a big spooky Eldrazi werewolf. This is probably okay. Shieldmate's maybe a little better, but I'm a lot deeper into red. I don't have any white cards yet. Take that. Alright, Deranged Whelp. 2-mana 2/1 Menace is just a great aggro card. Don't mind if I do. Drownyard Explorers is a pretty good investigator, but I'll take Deranged Whelp here. I don't think Pyrehound is the greatest unless we have a super high spell count, but I guess that's what blue-red is supposed to be about. I'm not really married to our blue now, though, because we haven't seen a lot of good zombies, so Compelling Deterrence, it just isn't going to be great. Might not even run it. And Runebinder as well, just not the greatest card ever. I'm not married to blue here. Might take Accomplice here and try to head to Black-Red Madness, potentially, with this Gisa's Bidding. Well, best card here is Blessed Alliance by a lot. Scoop that up. Have that as an option. I don't know for sure what we're doing yet. Could go in a lot of different directions. Maybe we'll open up a pretty sweet rare in pack 2 and that can choose our direction for us. Alright, I have changed my mind. I have decided a direction. Olivia's Dragoon is one of those 2-mana 2/2 creatures that can discard a card at any time that really makes Gisa's Bidding so powerful, and a lot of the Madness cards really good. So I'm very happy to take Olivia's Dragoon here, and probably try to commit towards that Black-Red Madness archetype. That can be a lot of fun. Magmatic Chasm could be okay to try to end the game. Macabre Waltz can be okay value late game. I'm not going to take Alms of the Vein, because it doesn't really impact the board in any way. It's just a face damage burn spell. Even if it is really, really cheap, if you can Madness it. Do that on 3, then our curve looks pretty great. Still a lot of white cards. Wow, Shieldmate or Priest. Priest is probably a little more flexible, but they're both strong. Wildfield Scarecrow. And Essence Flux is the final pick. Let's see what we open up. Pack 2, pick 1. Startled Awake. Target opponent mills 13. What? Target opponent mills 13. And then for 5 mana, you bring it back from your graveyard to the battlefield as a 1/1. And if the 1/1 hits your opponent, you put it back in your hand. That is going to be an annoying card to lose to. I don't think I'm going to go for that. I think I'm pretty committed to Rakdos. Rakdos Madness here. I think I'm just going for it. Just take another Galvanic Bombardment to help my removal out. Be pretty great, but that's kind of a wild card. That might be interesting in the future. There's almost definitely a mill deck in this format because I've seen a few different mill cards at like uncommon. So if you open up that Mythic rare and you get some of the uncommon mill cards, definitely have a mill deck. That is for sure. Thalia's Lancers, 5 mana 4/4 first strike. When it enters the battlefield, to search for a legendary, reveal it, put into your hand. Well, it's the best card in the pack, but it's in white. There's nothing I'm going to play in red or black out of this pack, though. Honestly, nothing I'm all that interested in playing in blue either. This is a very weak pack. There's a Thalia's Lancers and an Obsessive Skinner, probably the best cards. Because if you can trigger Delirium, Skinner just puts so many counters on your board so quickly. Card's kind of nuts. I don't think we can really play either, but Lancers is more likely. We've got a few white cards in the sideboard. Pack 2, pick 3 now. Another Olivia's Dragoon seems pretty good to me, but Uncaged Fury is also a huge combat trick out of nowhere. +1/+1 double strike is just massive. That can stack on a lot of damage. One of these two cards, Dragoon or Fury. Forgotten Creation's pretty cool. Again, I'm pretty off blue at this point. I think I'm going to go Dragoon for just really good consistency in triggering any Madness cards that we managed to pick up. Uncaged Fury is a great card, but we already have a lot of good non-creature spells. We've got 4 of them at least. I feel like I'm lacking a little more on the creature front for now. Alright, pack 2, pick 4. There's a Weirded Vampire for a nice Madness card. Instant speed, 3/3 for 3. Also Bedlam Reveler. When it enters the battlefield, discard your hand, draw 3. Cost 1 less for each instant sorcery in your graveyard. It's gonna be pretty expensive in this deck. We don't have that many instant sorceries, but I don't know, maybe we play a Bombardment, an Axe, and a Bidding throughout the game. That's 3. This would still cost double red and 3 more, so 5 mana for 3/4 prowess, draw 3 when it hits the board. That's still a good deal. I probably do take Bedlam Reveler here over the Weirded Vampire, but they're both good. Insolent Neonate also, pretty good way to trigger Madness. I'm going to scoop up that Bedlam Reveler. Now we have a Stromkirk Occultist, a 3 mana 3/2 trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of our library, and until end of turn we can play that card. It's got Madness for 2, sure. Decent card draw engine with a Madness ability. Probably take that over the Insatiable Gorgers. Now we can grab the 2 mana 2/1 Menace, or another efficient way to trigger our Madness cards, Ravenous Bloodseeker. I'm just going to take these over pretty much anything. So every single Madness card we have in our deck, we'll just always have a way to discard it if we want, between the Dragoon and the Ravenous Bloodseeker. Ooh, speaking of Madness cards I really want to have, Alchemist's Greeting is phenomenal with Madness. Discard this and it turns into a 2 mana 4 damage at instant speed. Does kind of hurt to pass up on the 3rd Galvanic Bombardment, but I think Alchemist's Greeting's a little better for us than the Bombardment. But they're both great, and we're definitely taking one of these two over the Occultist because we do have Bedlam Reveler in the deck. I take that Alchemist's Greeting. Now we don't really have anything. I guess Graph Harvest could be the late game way to get some dorks on board. I just don't see myself playing Chasm, Waltz, Malevolence, any of that. Probably not playing Harvest either, but who knows. Well, I'm really happy the direction I went. I mean, look at this. 2 mana 2/1 Menace or the 3 mana 3/2. I'm going to take the 3 mana 3/2 again. I think the card draw engine ability is pretty good. In a vacuum, I'd probably still take Whelp first most of the time, but I've got a lot of 2s, and I'm going to keep picking up Dragoons and Bloodseekers really highly. So I think my 2 mana creature slot's going to be nice and full. Blood Mist is pretty slow, but be okay. Alpac Wolf's not great. Necropod's pretty slow, but could be okay. Let's take one of the pretty slow, but could be okay cards. I guess I'll just take Necropod. Not excited about either. Take a Crow that I'm not excited about. Prototype's just 2. inconsistent. Even in like a Madness deck, I don't think it's really where you want to be. Alright, I'll take a Neonate. 1 mana, 1/1 Menace to chip in for some damage, and then just cash it in to filter a card away and use the Madness ability. Tormenting Voice is a card draw spell that can trigger something with Madness. Probably not going to play Ghoul Razor, but maybe I'll end up with a ton of zombies in the deck, and it'll be a decent little Gravedigger. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. Think I'm doing great on removal with 2 Bombardment, 1 Lightning Axe, and 1 Alchemist's Greeting. I think I am doing good enough on removal to not take the 3rd Bombardment immediately when there's a 2nd Geesa's Bidding in the pack. I'm just going to scoop that up. I think the idea of just turn 2 Bloodseeker or Dragoon into turn 3 Geesa's Bidding is too hard to pass up. And this even really helps our Bedlam Reveler, because it's going to give us more creatures in our deck and another instant sorcery for the graveyard. So it helps us keep our creature count pretty high while also upping the instant sorcery count. Here I'll pretty easily take a Deranged Whelp. Just the 2/1 Menace little aggro threat. Another Deranged Whelp. Take that over Deadweight. But I really want to focus on just all instant sorceries for non-creature cards in here with that Bedlam Reveler. Village Messenger, 1 mana, 1/1 haste. A 1 mana, 2/2 Menace is a really good deal, but it's going to be really inconsistent. I guess the one thing, I'm going to try this out, because the one thing that's really nice about this in a Madness deck like ours is, again, if we get one of our discard outlets on the board, then we can just not cast a spell during our own turn, because we can discard a spell during our opponent's turn to cast our Madness card, so we can get this to flip. So that could be good. Yeah, don't think I'm playing any of these. Maybe Midnight Scavengers. Fine Gravedigger value play. Recurring a creature from our graveyard to our hand. Not playing any of these either. I don't think we're very good at triggering Delirium. We're going to have an instant of sorcery and a creature in our hand all the time, but that's it. I guess I have... I mean, these can discard lands. They can discard anything, even if it's not a Madness card. So we could throw a land into our grave to give this Delirium, I guess. Nothing, like, great in this pack. Maybe Harvest Hand is a little better than it looks. A 3 mana 2/2 that replaces itself with a +1/+1 equipment. But I don't think it looks all that great. Unless you're like a Humans deck and you're getting the +2/+2. Ooh. So this can trigger our Madness cards, but only during our turn. At the beginning of combat. Still probably better than a 3rd Deranged Whelp. I'm actually not sure on that one. That one's really close. I do much prefer cards that allow me to discard a card at any time, like Haunted Dead, than ones that are like, at the beginning of your combat, now is when you can discard the card. Or a sorcery that makes you discard a card to use it. Wow, we wield Galvanic Bombardment. I'm going to take that over Certain Death. Maybe I should take Certain Death, because pretty much all my removal is damage-based, so I don't have much removal for killing things with really high toughness. But the more Galvanic Bombardments I have, the better they get. Come on, you gotta take more Bombardments, right? Gotta just scoop up all Bombardments all day long. No way you do anything else. I think I'm probably just gonna cut a lot of the slowest cards, because we have a really good aggressive curve here, so cut like the 5/4, big old 7/7, the Macabre Waltz. Maybe the Scavenger's a bit slow as well. We're just going to take a bunch of stuff we're not going to play. I'm actually just going to rare draft uncommons that I don't have yet, because I'm not playing any of those. If you ever want to see how many of the cards you own in your collection, you can just hold down the Alt key during the draft on Windows. Gore Razor's not doing anything in this deck. I think I just drafted 2 crows. Take a Traveler's Amulet. Yeah, I did a practice draft before this where we got a bunch of just random nonsense into the collection. Drafted some bonus boosters. So I'm just checking if there's anything I own nothing of. let's build this deck. I'm pretty sure, I mean, I can take another look, but I'm pretty sure everything that I ended up cutting is definitely not going back in. I mean, maybe Midnight Scavengers if I really want a Gravedigger effect, but not really outside of that. Maybe Magmatic Chasm. Really want to shut off blockers, but I think I'm just blowing up all the blockers I can with all this stuff. I'm not in love with Tormenting Voice, not in love with Graph Harvest because it's pretty slow. We look really aggressive where Westvale Abbey as well might be better if it's just a regular land, honestly. We don't really get any value from the self-mill from Crow of Dark Tidings. Kind of just like running the rest of the curve. I guess I only need to cut 2 cards, but if Gisa's Bidding is a 3-mana card with Madness, if this is a 2-mana card with Madness, if this is like a 5-mana card, then our curve is pretty dang low. So we could end up cutting a land and 2 of these non-lands, so like cut the Abbey, 2 lands. If I keep this Abbey, and I swear I'm going to have a colorless land when I need a red source, I'm going to have like 2 Swamps of Westvale Abbey and a bunch of red cards as my opening hand. Or 2 Mountains and Abbey and a bunch of black cards. It's going to happen. But I am tempted to keep it. So tempted. Just a very cool card. I think I like all of my other 2-mana cards better than the Ghoul Caller's Accomplice for this deck, so we'll cut that immediately. Yeah, Graph Harvest is a pretty expensive mana sink. We'll cut that out. Voice can be an okay later game draw spell, so I'll cut the Crow. Wait, what happened? Did I cut too many cards? I guess I cut too many cards. Let me put the Crow back in. Yeah, if I want to cut a land, I'm actually putting 1 card back in here. Put the Accomplice back in. I don't... This deck looks so aggressive with so much cheap burn and stuff. I don't foresee a lot of games going long enough to really use a Westvale Abbey, so I'm going to cut it. And run 16 lands here. And all colored sources, so it's harder to get stuck off of a certain color of mana. We have 16 red cards, 8 black cards. Double red on Bedlam Reveler, double red on Conduit of Storms' transform ability. No double black cards. I guess the Geese is bidding, but we're trying to discard those, so we only need 1 black source. So we'll go 7-9 and call it a deck there. Alright, here we have a look at our first Premier Draft deck of Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. It's going to be a red-black Madness deck. A really cool aggro deck that has a lot of synergies with the Madness mechanic. So we're curving out with a few aggressive 1-drops. We've got a lot of cards in our deck that have instant speed discard abilities, like 2 copies of Olivia's Dragoon, 1 copy of Ravenous Bloodseeker, and 1 copy of Insolent Neonate. With all of those, we can discard a card at instant speed, letting us trigger a Madness ability on something like Gisa's Bidding to make this a 3-mana instant to make 2 2/2s, Alchemist's Greeting, making it a 2-mana instant to deal 4 to something, and a lot of creatures like Stromkirk Occultist that with the Madness effect can be like an instant speed 2-mana 3/2. So a bunch of pretty cool Madness stuff we can do there with all those cards. Other than that, it's just a really aggressive curve of creatures, some nice cheap Menace cards with Deranged Whelp. Thraben Foulbloods is going to profit off of us having discarded a bunch of stuff. If we can get enough card types in our graveyard, this will be a 3-mana 4/3 Menace, which can be pretty aggressive. The Occultist could be a card draw engine for us. The Haunted Dead can keep coming back and making 1/1 flyers, as well as potentially triggering Madness with its discard effect. We've got a bunch of great removal: Triple Bombardment, Alchemist's Greeting, Lightning Axe, and at the top of the curve, a Bedlam Reveler. So once we've dumped a bunch of instants and sorceries in the grave, we can cast this for maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 mana maximum, and draw a fresh new hand of 3 cards. So very solid deck overall, and I'm super excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Alright, here we are on the play for game 1. I've got a curve of a 1-drop into a 2-drop or a 3-drop, so I'll keep it. It's not a super synergistic hand, but we're just curving out with aggro dorks, which is fine. Starting with a Village Messenger, so if my opponent doesn't play a turn 1 spell, we're just immediately attacking with a 2/2 Menace, which is such a punishment for just not having a 1-drop in hand that it kind of feels like I'm playing for Exial Will Be 1 again. We're right back home. So now our opponent has to cast 2 spells in 1 turn if they want to flip this Intruder back to being a 1/1. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2/2 Menace for quite some time. Drawn to a Galvanic Bombardment here. Interesting. If they want to kill my Fury Blade Vampire, they have to block with Bloodseeker and discard a card to it. So they have to 2-for-1 themselves, because it would be a trade. So I think I'm cool to just attack both without discarding anything. And I could Bombardment the Bloodseeker post-combat if I want to keep them off any Madness cards. Possibly the play, but I think I'd rather play Foul Bloods. That might be a little greedy, but I'm just going to keep curving out here. If they have Gisa's Bidding in hand, that would be a pretty good way to get some blocks in here, and they can cast that if they have Bloodseeker on board, but they couldn't if they don't. So, yeah, maybe we should have just bombardmented that. Dang, only one red source here. Not being able to play Greeting and Bombardment is pretty rough. I mean, they're almost definitely just going to go Gisa's Bidding now, because they just played a third land, played nothing. Could also be like a 3/3 here. There's a 3-mana 3/3 with Madness. I'm going to discard a land for Foul Bloods to be scarier. Send in the squad. Fingers crossed. If it's not Gisa's Bidding, we're pretty fine. If it's Gisa's Bidding, we really should have just shot the Bloodseeker. That's the only thing that would be really bad for us. Alright, yeah, Weirded Vampire's fine. That's a 1-for-1. And I can Bombardment the Bloodseeker now. So does the 3/3. Probably trade into the Vampire. Maybe the Foul Bloods, because we have to keep discarding cards to make the Fury Blade Vampire scarier. Oh wait, didn't I clicked out of my opportunity to blow up Bloodseeker there? That was loose. Should have blown that up pre-blocks. That's what I intended to do. I think I just zoned out and clicked a button too many times. I wanted to wait till their Madness ability resolved, giving them the Vampire, and then boop, shoot the 3/1 before blocks. But I guess I zoned out and just clicked too many times, which definitely happens in Digital Magic. I have no sorcery engraved, do I? Yeah, as soon as I play a sorcery, we're golden. Foul Bloods is Menace, and our whole board is Menace. So we just get in. So they might have an Alchemist's Greeting here they can discard to cast off the Dragoon, in which case they kill the Foul Bloods. But they still take 2. Blood Mad Vampire, so they can double block Foul Bloods, or they can double block the Intruder, but they both have Menace. So it's either 2-for-1 themselves on Foul Bloods, or trade a 4/1 into our 2/2 Menace. I don't think either of these blocks are super good for them. I actually think I would rather kill the Madness Enabler than the 4/1 here, when I have a Galvanic Bombardment that can kill a 4/1 really easily anyway. They're just going to go in. Hit us for 4. Probably have a removal spell for the 4/3 Menace then. Play another Blood Mad Vampire. Play a Fury Blade Vampire. No, they do not have another removal spell. So, I'm going to Bombardment that and hit in for 4. And now I have a Dragoon that can let me cast my Alchemist's Greeting by discarding it. So we can keep that board clear, keep the Menace damage coming in. Try to find lethal there. Nah, they've got a dead weight to play on the Dragoon, which means I will not have the mana up to play an Alchemist's Greeting because I don't have another way to discard it. Oh, and they hit another Madness card there. They get to still have 2 blockers up here. Yeah. Oh, we've got 2 more bombardments in the deck we could hit. Lightning Axe will do it as well. That's a top deck. That's certainly a top deck. I can't afford the red mana for that, so it's just going to be discarded. But we'll hit for 4 with Menace and Thraben Foul Bloods. One of the more filler, like, last additions to the deck did a lot of work there. That Menace was huge that game. We're going to start this draft off 1-0. Here we are for game 2 with a million ways to discard a card and a Geese's Bidding turn 3 if we hit any land. I'm very excited about it. I'm probably going to go for the Dragoon, because it hits a little harder on attacks. Because I'm almost 100% going to try to play Geese's Bidding at instant speed, rather than just playing it during my turn to get a better attack in. Alright, send in the Dragoon, play a Geese's Bidding during their turn, see if they get a Thraben Inspector and tack in. Draw Skull Captain, their spirits have +1/+1 hexproof. Alright, yep, we get a free kill on Thraben Inspector, let's go. Part of the huge power of madness, turning everything into an instant. Nom. We will eat that right up. And all of their spirits are going to have hexproof. So I think we should probably shoot the one that's giving them all +1/+1 hexproof here. I think I want to play another creature rather than a Tormenting Voice right now. Stay aggressive. I think Fury Blade Vampire is a little more aggressive than Bloodseeker. But yeah, I could have discarded this anyway off of Dragoon or just whatever I wanted to use, but I think I do it pre-combat. I guess I should probably just do that post-combat, because any of my 2/2s trading into their Spirit Lord is probably a good deal. Well, that's unfortunate. Courageous Outrider draws a human out of the top 4, and we know that they're a Spirit-focused deck, so them hitting a human in the top 4 cards in a deck with a lot of spirits is pretty lucky. Unfortunate for us. Alright, Crow of Dark Tidings. Not the greatest against the deck with a ton of flyers. We gotta find a way to get through this Outrider. So let's Tormenting Voice the Crow away, I think. Get a Thraben Foulbloods, that could be legit. So I attack with everybody here. They kill Olivia's Dragoon, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could also play the Bloodseeker instead this turn, discard a card to the Fury Blade Vampire to hit harder. I would also put a land in my graveyard for Foulbloods to be at 3 out of 4 card types. We just need to draw an instant to make the Foulbloods have Delirium in the future. This might be a bit greedy, but I think I'm gonna do it. They kill Dragoon, take 8, go to 4 life. But then I have Bloodseeker to replace Dragoons. Discard ability regardless. And Foulbloods is very close to Delirium after we cast it. Alright, Exultant Cultist from our opponent. That draws them a card when it dies, and Sigardian Priest is a 1/2 that can keep tapping non-humans. So a bunch of very good blockers here to have. Draw for turn, find a Geese's Bidding, very, very strong card. Discard it to the Fury Blade Vampire to be able to attack with a 4-power Trampler. If I attack with a 4-power Trampler, 2 2/2s and a Bloodseeker, they have to go trade, Trump? Yeah, they have to block everything. Yeah, we just do that. They have to block everything. I might have to discard this Foulbloods for Bloodseeker here, depending on how the blocks happen. Okay, I don't have to discard Foulbloods here. If I do, though, I kill the Priest, which is kind of nice. Probably better to just leave Bloodseeker on board than kill the Priest. Putting them down to 2 life regardless. Yeah, they're down to 2. 1 blocker on the board against 4 creatures. Because the Haunter can't block any of our creatures because it can only block flyers. So they are going to draw a card with the Clue token. Alright, we're going to find the win. Geese's Bidding being the huge Overperformer that game, just a busted magic card, being able to make our board that wide that quickly, stay aggressive with all of the madness cards. So we are 2-0 heading into game 3 now. All right, game 3, we got some aggressive stuff and we're on the play. If you can Village Messenger turn 1, there aren't a million 1-drops in this format like there are in Phyrexia All Will Be One, so if you ever just poke your opponent for 1 with Messenger and then they don't have a 1-drop to respond, this card's just devastating like it was in game 1. Where it's like, alright, I'll hit you for 1 and then I just have a 2/2 menace, because like, not a lot of decks are going to be running 1-mana creatures. Aw, but there they go. They have the Insolent Neonate here, so they don't auto-lose. Not this time. I think I'm just going to curve out regularly and play the Deranged Whelp. If I play the Dragoon, then I'm open to playing Occultist at instant speed, so we can get the Messenger to flip that way. But I like the 2/1 menace quite a bit on the board. Oh! Oh! Okay. I give the Neonate +2/+2. Let them sack a permanent to give it flying. That is A-okay with me. I think I can try to outrace that. Play an Occultist this turn. See what else they're doing over there. It is a 3/3 menace. That is a little spooky. 3/3 menace flying is massive, but they have to sacrifice permanents to give it flying. We'll see how this plays out for them. I don't know how much stuff there is to make like 1 creature really big, so I don't know how worried I should be. I guess we'll find out soon enough. Alright, no attacks. We don't have to be worried at all then. And they didn't cast any spells, so now we just have the Intruder flipped. So they might have to just 2-for-1 trade Neonate plus the Mantle into the Occultist this turn. They can't block any of our menace creatures. That's pretty fine. I'm going to offer it. Attack with the squad. I guess I don't have to send a Cultist in, because it's got a really good ability when it deals combat damage to them, but I think the odds of it ever connecting are pretty low. Because like this turn it'll just trade, and any other turn, if they don't play any more creatures, they're just dead anyway. Yeah, let's actually just trade and get the Neonate out of the way. That's fine. Alright, got the 2-for-1 trade, killed a Neonate and an Aura, and now we just tap out for a flyer. Mill a couple cards, hit a land and a land. Actually helpful for our Delirium card, but not great for our Haunted Dead. That does want a 4th mana. Ooh, Geese's Bidding. Can't play it right now, but as soon as I play a Dragoon or Bloodseeker, I can play it the turn after that. Fiendbinder cannot block at all, because it's all menace and flying. Just a ton of evasive threats. Let's just play another one. Olivia's Dragoon to be able to attack with another flyer. So next turn I just like discard any card and I have 4 power of flyers and 4 power of menace creatures. Yeah, they're just going to scoop it up. Just way too many cheap evasive threats there. It's really hard to block, and we're going to be 3-0 as we head into game 4. Alright, here we are on the play for game 4. A couple bombardments in the opener, a nice 2-drop that can let us cast our Geese's Bidding on turn 3. Definitely keep the hand. Opponent takes a mulligan to start it off. We'll play a mountain so we can hold up bombardment, but there's not a lot of 1-drops I'd kill. I guess if they play the 1-mana thing that flips into a 2/2 menace, we'd probably kill that. That card has been a huge overperformer. But kind of because we just kept drawing it on our opening hands. It's definitely a lot weaker when we draw it later in the game. But the just 1-mana 1/1 haste, hit them for 1, and then you pass turn, they don't have a 1-drop, you just flip into a 2/2 menace. It's just nuts. And opponent might have had something come up there because they are just over it, so I guess we're just going to get a free victory for game 4. And we'll just be 4-0 as we head into round 5. Pretty quick one there, pretty anticlimactic, but heading into game 5 now. Alright, here we are for game 5. This time I don't have a great way to use the Geese's Bidding. I don't have any 2-drop creatures either, so it's pretty close to a mulligan, but the fact that I can Lightning Axe Geese's Bidding on turn 4 is still pretty exciting to me. Like, that's a pretty massive instant speed blowout, potentially. So I'm going to keep the hand. If we're living in Magical Christmas Land where dreams come true and nothing ever goes wrong, we'll just draw a 2-drop to play next turn. But even if things go out poorly and we just don't hit anything to play, our turn 4 is going to be very good to make up for the slow start. We live in Magical Christmas Land. We top deck the Olivia's Dragoon, and the hand is now perfect. There's a Dragoon from our opponent. How badly do I want to keep them off Madness? Not that badly. Badly enough that I'll offer the trade of Dragoon versus Dragoon, because we have plenty of other ways to discard cards. But if they don't take the trade, I'm not going to Lightning Axe that thing yet. I'm still going to go for the bidding. But I will potentially try to Lightning Axe it next turn. Olivia's Bloodsworn, 2/1 flying vampire, can't block and give itself haste. Okay, so they're tapped out from doing any madness cards here. Nice. So we might get them to have to just discard a card just to save Dragoon from dying to a 2/2 zombie now. Would be really sweet. Because I don't think there are any 0 mana madness cards in this set in particular. Alright, yeah, so we just trade a zombie into the Dragoon, keep them off any madness plays. They might just be more a regular, just vampire pile. Looks like. So we can just curve out normally now, play our Haunted Dead, get a flyer. That can trade into the Bloodsworn while getting a 2/2 on the ground. That's a pretty great deal against a 2/1 flyer. Getting that spirit token here. Pretty phenomenal. Oh, they do have a Tormenting Voice, so they can still trigger a madness here. They probably have to kill Dragoon, yeah. Because Haunted Dead can just come back from the grave, and all of our other creatures don't have any extra text. Alright, so our opponent is not going to attack here. Play Neonate and still have a Lightning Axe in hand. Kind of out of stuff to do, which is rough. I think I just stay aggro and hit them for 5, put them down to 9. And we're holding up a Lightning Axe because I have so many lands I can just discard. I've got more double red than double black. We'll play the 3rd red source over the 3rd black source. Alright, I've got a very wide board state. I can kill one of their creatures with a Lightning Axe by discarding a swamp. But they do have a lot more cards than me here, so if they can survive a few more turns, they can try to turn this around with just general card advantage, just having a lot more spells to keep playing. So we are the aggro deck here, we are the aggressor, we are trying to get things to end quickly at all costs before they can find a way to stabilize. Alright, send in the Bloodsworn, we take the 2, we're down to 16. Stromkirk Captain, all of their vampires get +1/+1 first strike. And they are going to pass here. Alright, that's a first striking blocker, so I'm just going to go for the kill here. Discarding a land, which is helpful for our 1 Delirium card, which is nice. But mainly just because we don't need a land here, so. That's just what we have left to discard. Now here's a Crow of Dark Tidings, we'll mill 2. Mill a couple more lands. Pretty good mills, we definitely didn't want to hit those. That's some good luck there. We've got a really wide board state against an opponent on 3 life here with 1 creature on board, and that creature can't block. So everything's kind of going in our favor right now, but we'll see if anything can turn that around. Mountain from our opponent. Anything else here? They've got 6 mana up to find a way to survive. Macabre Waltz, discard a card, pick up 2 creatures. Oh, it's actually the other order. You pick up the 2 creatures, then you discard a card. Discarding the Blood Mad Vampire with Madness. And they have 2 mana up to play another creature. Play the Dragoon. They have 2 blockers total, which is not enough to survive. but that is probably the maximum amount they could play this turn. So yeah, they block 2/2/2s and take 4 damage, go to -1. And that will be a victory in Game 5. We are 5-0 now, in the money, leaving with more gems than we paid to enter the event. So feels pretty great as we head into round 6 undefeated. Here we are in round 6 with a pretty risky hand if I want to keep it. I have a Bombardment, I have a Deranged Whelp. Those are really good ways to start the game, but we have to hit a swamp quickly or we're not doing anything after that. There's 3 black cards in the hand. We are on the draw here. I'm going to go for the risky keep here. And we will immediately hit the swamp because never punished, always had it. Dusk Watch Recruiter, that is immediately getting blown up because this thing can keep drawing them cards with its 3-mana ability. It can also reduce the cost of their creatures if it ever flips. It's just a very powerful card that I am more than happy to just kill instantaneously. I'm going to play my Menace card first. I might get punished for that because if I draw Geese's Bidding, I would have rather had a Dragoon on the board. But with pretty much anything else, I would rather just play the Whelp. So this wolf cannot block unless they control another wolf or werewolf, so our Village Messenger can actually just get in there with haste. So I'll go Village Messenger Dragoon over just playing 1 Foul Bloods here. So I get in for 1 more damage this turn immediately, and if I draw any of my Madness cards, I have an Enabler on the board to be able to cast them. There's another wolf, so the Hellpack Wolf can block now if they want to hold it back. But they are going to send that in, just hold back the Ember Eye Wolf, which is just a 1/2 blocker, so no big deal there. Well, now I can play a Stromkirk Occultist as my play for the turn, so that I'm still playing something, but I can flip the Village Messenger. Unfortunately, if I cast it off of its Madness ability, it's still technically cast, so the Village Messenger will not flip, so I need to do this at instant speed, so I can't give the Dragoon flying. But, I mean, it doesn't need flying theoretically if they don't have the 1-mana combat trick. Okay, they don't have the 1-mana combat trick, so we're good. Flip our Village Messenger, they have to play 2 spells this turn if they want to flip it back, but that's definitely possible. If they play a land, they could just play 2 2-mana cards here. That would not be ideal. This looks like just a no-block position. Why would they attack like this? Maybe I put the Intruder on the wolf. I'm actually going to put the Intruder on the wolf because I feel like they're probably just going to play 2 spells this turn if I don't do this. And if I do, like, it's going to soak up 2 of their mana to make it just a trade where my 1-drop trades up into the 2-drop. Just a good deal all around. It keeps them off playing another spell particularly easily. Yeah, that feels like a pretty good block for me. Like, we soak up some of their mana and trade our 1-drop up into the 2-mana creature. Keep them off of doing something else this turn, and then we have a really good attack now. Probably going to play another Dragoon so I can hold up Lightning Axe here. Ooh, that is such a good draw, because now I can play Foul Bloods and hold up Lightning Axe. Thank you very much, Occultist. Beautiful stuff. And now, with a Lightning Axe in hand, it should be pretty much impossible for my opponent to play enough blockers to not just die. Alright, Confront the Unknown to hit us for 4. Sack the Clue to draw a card, see if they have a 1-mana way out of this. If they've got a Fog. But there is no Fog in the set. There is Moon Mist. That's a 2-mana version of Fog. Prevents all combat damage by non-wolves, non-werewolves, something like that. And then it flips that. So if they drew into that and they had 2 mana up, they could survive 1 more turn, maybe. But evidently they did not have that, so we're now 6-0, very much in the money as we're undefeated heading into the final boss with multiple rounds in the chamber to try to get a 7-win run. Alright, here we are for the potential final boss of the draft. I am going to keep this hand. It has good early interaction with Bombardment. Then it has the turn 4 Bidding Lightning Axe with a turn 3 Foul Bloods this time. We kept a slower hand than this because we had Lightning Axe plus Bidding for turn 4. And yeah, there's just a better version of that hand, so we'll definitely keep. Again, Magical Christmas Land if I hit a 2-drop here. And there you go, Deranged Whelp into Foulbloods now. Having the bombardment against the Village Messenger feels great, because we've seen how explosive that card is when you don't have that. When you don't have the cheap card to get it out of the way. Just a 1-mana 2/2 menace, pretty much. Pretty nasty. Go for the Foulbloods here. Be mana efficient. Play the 3/2 for 3 over the 2/2 for 2. And they are going to go ahead and clear shot it. Hit me for a little bit of extra damage here. Alright, we got the mana for the Lightning Axe bidding play. Probably do that at the end of their turn, because I don't really want to just shoot the 2/1 if they're going to play a better creature. Interesting. Well, I guess don't have much of a choice. Guess we do it. Another land. We could flood out here pretty badly. 5 lands is kind of already more than we want. Oh! Alright. Pack Guardian is kind of a mythic rare quality uncommon. 4 mana for a 4/3 and a 2/2 at instant speed is nigh unbeatable. One of the strongest cards in the whole format. I played, I think, like 1 draft of the set when it initially came out, so it's basically a new format to me, but even in that 1 draft or pre-release event or whatever it was, I was like, this card is way too good for an uncommon. Pack Guardian is completely disgusting. Probably should have taken the trade for the wolf there. Ooh. Bedlam Reveler off the top is actually very legit here. Yeah, I'm going to end up going Accomplice on wolf this turn. I should have just done that block last turn, taken 3 less damage. Well, we potentially have the board all locked up now. Depends on what their last card in hand is. Wolfkin Bond. Yeah, it's a strong one. Guess we got a 2-for-1 ourselves, but luckily Accomplice does give us another 2/2 from the grave, so it's not horrific. Unfortunately, though, we're pretty much turning this game into a top deck war, and I hate those. It's literally just the board states are equivalent. So I have 4 less life than them, but I have a better board state, right? Because this trades into this trades into that. So I've got 1 more creature. So I'm in the better board state. But they get the first draw in the top deck war, and they have 4 more life. So it's pretty much exactly 50-50 who wins this game, and it's entirely going to be who draws better spells. Always hate these kind of games. But I guess it's time to see who draws the better spells. Here we go. Draw number 1 from our opponent is... It is a 5/4, because they can turn that into a 5/4 next turn. Draw number 1 from us is another land. Oh, yeah, this thing attacks as a 5/4. I can't exactly hold up a block. So we'll hit for 2. I'm going to keep these in hand because I have a lot of ways to discard cards for value. Draw number 2 from our opponent. Uh-oh. It's something they want to cast they can't afford to flip the conduit for. Yep. Wait, what? Yeah, I guess if they flipped the conduit, then I'm really bad at math. So they would have tapped out, they wouldn't have had a green source, but if they attacked and then 3, 4, 5... Yeah, they couldn't have played that without flipping the conduit. Okay. So they go creature into creature. Tormenting Voice could save us here. It's going to be 2 more draws. So land into Tormenting Voice are our draws, but then we hit Bloodseeker Crow of Dark Tidings, which... It's not going to be enough to save us from their 5/4. They also get to turn that captive into a 4/6, so they kind of just top decked a 5/4 and a 4/6 in the war. Those are quite big. I can't play the Crow and the Bloodseeker without also playing this land, which I'm not a huge fan of. They can't afford to flip the captive next turn, can they? Unless they top deck a land. Yeah, 7 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by using its own ability. I guess if they get mana out of Conduit, they can. Attack for 2, attack for 4. Kind of feels like my only hope is to maybe just flying damage them out of nowhere. We milled 2 non-land cards with the Crow. Yeah, we hit them for 4 next turn, hit them for the turn after that, if I can just survive these attacks. But it's going to be difficult. But I think that's the game plan. Hit for 4, hit for 4. Ooh, Village Messenger. That's a chump blocker. They're in a rough choice here. If the last card in their hand is just like a land or something, this is a hard decision. Because if they don't chump block, then they're dead on board next turn. We just attack for 4 flying damage. But if they do chump block, then they aren't potentially cracking back for lethal. But I guess they aren't regardless, because they don't have the mana to flip captive until they play another land, and they'd have to tap captive to itself to flip it. This is going to be a really close one in the top deck war. Alright. They're banking on it. They're banking on lethal here. Let's see. There's our chump blocker. We just chump and then we attack for 4 flying damage next turn. There's a Howlpack Wolf. Send in the Conduit of Emrakul. I am going to play around a combat trick. If they had a removal spell, or if they have a removal spell, we're going to be dead anyway. So I'll play around a combat trick. And try to get the kill here. Ah, the fact that I have to discard a Galvanic Bombardment is sad, but Bombardment wouldn't even save us if they remove one of these creatures. Regardless. Show me the removal spell. Alright. Well done. Top deck war has been won. Oh, that sucks. That was so close. 6-1 it is then. So we head into round 8. Here we are in round 8. Our opponent is on the play. We're on a mono-colored hand, but I think I'm going to keep it. We've got 2 2-drops. If I hit any land, we've got a Foul Bloods as well on turn 3. We've got a Madness Enabler if we hit any Madness cards. So, we'll be keeping the hand, despite the mana issues. Alright, opponent is on red. We have drawn a red card as our first draw of the game. Not very good, that is the color we're missing. We've drawn a red card into a swamp. Not loving how the game's starting off here, but we'll drop Accomplice past the turn. We've still got time. We still have a play next turn, still have a play the turn after that, even if we're still stuck off the red source by then. Alright, Blood Mad Vampire is the... They didn't want to discard that and play it there and just send an attack in. I guess they didn't want to trade into this Accomplice because it doesn't get any extra toughness. Oh, we've drawn a 4th swamp here now. We'll just play the Foul Bloods and pass. And cross our fingers for mountains. Or at least no more swamps. If I don't hit mountains, but I hit some black spells, that's fine. But if I hit more swamps, those are basically just dead draws. Show me your weird combat trick. Just gonna be the +2/+0 first strike thingy. I guess I block the 4/1 because if it's that, then I stop all the damage this way instead of getting trampled over. Oh, just Galvanic Bombardment? Okay. That works too. Stop more damage this way. call the Bloodlines. They've got a ton of ways to enable their madness. We did hit the red source, which is pretty sweet. Kind of like playing the Haunted Dead here, so I've got a 1-1 to block their 4-1. And still have a 2-2 to block the 1-2. Send in the Thraben Foulbloods. So yeah, they've got plenty of ways to enable any madness cards. They can discard a card, make a 1-1 lifelink, or they can discard a card, give this +3/+0. No discard from the vampire, and they pass the turn. What do I want to do here? I could just start chipping in with the flyer and just play a couple more 2-drops. Could also play the land and play a 3-mana card and a 2-mana card. Play the Crow here, maybe? Could help with the Foulbloods. Let's play the Crow right now and see where it gets the Foulbloods. Land. Alright, well, it gets a land into the grave. So whenever we hit an instant or sorcery, we'll be very close to Delirium. That's another flyer to be chipping in with, which is super sweet. Probably going to need flyers here to get through all the 1-1 lifelinks and stuff. They're going to be running out. They'll probably play some... Probably play some 2-2 zombies and stuff as well, with a Geese's Bidding of their own at some point. Yep, call the Bloodline, 3 mana up. It is Weirded Vampire. Okay, the 3-3. That is fine. Chose to play the Dragoon instead of the Whelp because they're going to have a wide enough board state again with all these vampire tokens and nonsense that they can easily just double block the Whelp with like 2 1-1 lifelinks or something. So I think just having a 2-2 to block 1-1s is better. Oh, well, they're just going at it. Alright, well, Haunted Dead has a great ability from the graveyard, so we'll slap that, just throw that under the bus immediately. And then I'm going to put Dragoon on the 1-1. I'm pretty sure that there's like a +2/+0 to all vampires and give them all first strike thing in the Shadows of the Past, but I might be misremembering that card. But I think I'm going to play that around that a little bit to where I don't also block with Foulbloods at least. Yeah, this card's disgusting. Vampiric Fury, give your whole board +2/+0 first strike. Alright, I was correct. I'm glad I played around it a little bit, but if I was certain that that card existed, I would have played around it a little more and just only blocked the Blood Mad Vampire there. Well, they're down to 1 card in hand, so... Still doing pretty alright here. I can Bombardment and get a 2-2 off of the Accomplice. Don't really want to discard 2 cards to get the Haunted Dead on the board. Get a 2-2. So I can Bombardment the Blood Mad Vampire, I can put Foulbloods on the Weirded Vampire, I can put a 2-2 on the 1-2, and then they're just kind of out of stuff. So we can keep trying to win with flyers here. If the last card in their hand is just a land or something, and I think we're slightly in the lead here. But if it's a good card, we could still definitely have issues trying to turn things around. The nice thing for them is even if they just top deck a bunch of lands, they can keep making 1-1 lifelinkers. So they'll get to do something. Then in the 3-3. Yeah, I think I am on the trade here. Ooh, no. What does this turn into? Oh my god. This transforms into this. I sack. They just kill my whole board. They have to sack 3 other creatures to transform it. So I have to just Bombardment the Blood Mad Vampire right now to keep them off of having 3 other creatures. But then this is still going to kill me soon because they just discard a card, get a 1-1, and flip it. I'm so dead if this thing flips. I just can't do anything. Alright, well, this is probably going to kill us. I guess by doing this, we stop them from flipping it, and then if I top deck another bombardment, I can do 3 damage to it right there. I guess I can Haunted Dead, get a 1/1 flyer and a 2/2 Haunted Dead onto the board at instant speed, which can help prevent the sacking 3 creatures from being that devastating, but just a 3/3 flyer is already devastating, so a 6/5 flyer is going to be monstrous. I think I'd rather have the better blocker. I'm going to play that, but I'm holding these for Haunted Dead. I don't have attacks into this. Stromkirk Captain. All their vampires get +1/+1 first strike. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Send in the Pariah. We've got no blocks, because it's got that first strike. I think I'm just going to draw here. Well, so I can play the Whelp. But we need something real quick. Yep, that seems pretty powerful. They are going to flip the Pariah now. Got a 7/6 first striking flyer now. Oh lord. Need to be able to chump block it a few turns. Sack one of the 1/1 flyers, sack the Haunted Dead, sack a 2/2 zombie. These are not the cards we're looking for. I played Mountain to flip my 5/4, I guess. Good gravy. Wow. Yeah, we're just completely bombed out. They just have way too many high impact rares. Cards are explosive. And that's some red cards, and we've discarded all the mountains we just drew. Alright. Well, we could do that game. Their deck was tremendously high power. So 6-2 we will be as we head into the final boss, win or lose, the final game of Magic for today. Alright, here we are on the play for the final game of Magic. This is a bit of a slower hand, not starting till turn 3, but I'm going to keep it because the cards are quite powerful. Aw, Village Messenger. Drawing that on turn 2 is so awkward because they didn't have a 1-drop. So we would have flipped it, but the odds of them not having a 2-drop are way lower than them not having a 1-drop. If we could have just flipped those draws to where we had the Village Messenger first, and then whatever we drew right before it, we would be in a phenomenal position. Cultist is still pretty dang good here. Could also just pass and then bombardment the vampire so my messenger flips, but I'd rather get the occultist going. Pass the turn. They could go Swamp Geese's bidding, but it would be sorcery speed. Alright, they're going to Tormenting Voice, discard a black card, draw 2. Find the swamp that they're looking for. And then a dead weight on Stromkirk Occultist. Pretty unfortunate for us. Play Accomplice and Bombardment. Or I can just play Foul Bloods. Yeah, I like stopping this vampire from giving them any madness stuff. They have to play another madness enabler to get that going. Insolent Neonate is another madness enabler. On to Dead is the play this turn. Go for Geese's bidding? They will not. Alright, play Haunted Dead. Biting Rain. Ouch. Good old 3-for-1. Feels pretty good. Now they have the Kindly Stranger, which is a huge 2-for-1 creature. It turns into a 4-3 and blows up anything I control. I think I need to Alchemist's Greeting that before I play anything else. Do I Haunted Dead, discard Greeting, and a Crow? Or do I just play nothing for now? I'm at 19. We can play nothing for now and still be fine. Alright, hit us with the 2-3 for 2. Play Geese's Bidding, get their 2/2/2s. Okay, now I'm less fine if I don't play anything. Still think I wait till my turn. Okay, cool. So now I can discard a land and Alchemist's Greeting. Or I can just play the land and just Greeting, but I'd rather do the Haunted Dead thing. Alright. Dead weight for the Haunted Dead. Weirded Vampire, just a 3/3. We'll take 4. Don't have enough mana to play more than one thing this turn, so I think I need to play the 3 toughness card. This is really not looking very good for me. Ever since the 3 to 4-for-1 Geese's, or not Geese's Bidding, Biting Rain. Down to 8. Another Bloodhall Priest. Died of the same incredibly powerful rare twice in a row. Feels bad. Feels bad. Shoot something for 3 with Galvanic Bombardment, but they just get to deal 2 damage to any target every single time they attack. Yeah, no, we can't beat that. Unfortunate ending there. Unfortunate ending. Our cards lined up really poorly into that Biting Rain. So they were already in a good position, and then just having a bomb rare like the Bloodhall Priest is going to make that insurmountable again. So far, like the format a good bit. There's a lot of cool things going on, a lot of nice mechanical synergies and stuff you can go for, which are pretty powerful. There's a lot of aggro stuff. There are some really punishing cards for slower decks to run up against, like having a Village Messenger in the opening hand. Like, I feel like that's going to be a card I'm going to hate to see when I'm just playing and my opponent just plays turn 1 Village Messenger and I don't have a 1-drop in my deck. Like, there's definitely some really powerful aggro stuff like that that can really like exacerbate the difference of being on the play versus on the draw going on. But I don't think it's as much as Phyrexial will be 1. There's some pretty cool synergies. Obviously, playing around with Madness was really fun today. And then, as there is in any limited format, there are just kind of some bombs. So I think our synergy in general, our consistency on curve, and just in mechanics and stuff, with consistently being able to trigger Madness stuff, consistently being able to curve out, was super powerful. I think our deck was as consistent and synergistic as our last 2 opponents' decks. The big thing that won those games, though, was also their decks were pretty much just our deck in terms of power level. Plus, they managed to get some bomb rares, which is what we were really missing out on. The Bedlam Reveler was pretty good, but not quite bomb rare level. So just lose to some slightly better decks, as you do. Get a 6-3 run. Not a bad way to start the format, but it would have been awesome to get a 7-win run to start it off. Either way, had a lot of fun today. I think the Red-Black Madness archetype is very cool. I think this deck was quite good. So overall, pretty good day of Magic today. We will grab our 1800 gems, our 5 packs, and head off for the night. That is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see some more Shadows over Innistrad Limited, just stick around on the channel. You can always like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more of these videos in your recommended feeds. If you'd like to hang out with me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. Other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.